Friends, tell me if you've heard this one before. But now we're being told that Venezuela has chemical weapons. Yes, they have WMDs, and this is as the United States is making the biggest buildup of military forces off the coast of Venezuela that we've done since 2003 invasion of Iraq. We got this all coming down, and now we see these accusations flying, trying to find some sort of justification for the war that we all know is coming. We're going to give you an update on what's going on here as the USS Gerald Ford has arrived in the Caribbean in Southcom, which is the Southern Command, which covers South America as well as Central America. This is big news out there, and friends, we got war on the horizon. Possibly President Trump will pull us back from the brink, but it looks like the folks over at the Department of War are all gung-ho on this, and they are giving him options of what is going to happen next in the coming days. We got that and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are the things you won't hear on the mainstream media. We're keeping you up to date, and we are not proponents of the war. We are not proponents of any war, especially when it's involving a country that we haven't actually been attacked by. Anyway, I think most Americans are like, let's focus in here at home. Let's not be invading some country that, let's just be honest, a lot of people in America would have a hard time finding on a map. Venezuela is not directly doing all that much. Let's keep their boats out of U.S. waterways. Let's attack their boats once they come into our waterways. Let's interdict their boats even, okay? But Operation Southern Spear has begun. Pete Hegseth, the Department of War Secretary, has just announced Operation Southern Spear. We're not told exactly what that fully entails, but a lot of people are speculating it does involve regime change in Venezuela. Colombia is not on board with this whatsoever. Colombia has already broken off ties to the United States and information sharing, as well as not allowing their forces to participate in anti-drug interdiction with the United States anymore. They are firmly on the side of Venezuela on this, and that's saying something, because most of the time Venezuela and Colombia don't get along at all. They both have troops sitting on the border looking at each other, pointing weapons at each other. So, the fact that even Colombia is not on board with this, they just don't like the idea of the United States invading countries in South America that don't agree with the United States politically. And that's where we really are. We have a lot of destroyers. I think that's the official term of where we are numbers-wise. A lot of U.S. destroyers, all crammed into the Southern Caribbean, and we got them all hunting, looking for pirates of the Caribbean to blow them out of the water, apparently. 21 drug boats have been destroyed now. Hopefully all 21 of those ships are actually drug boats, but we don't really know anymore, because somebody blew them up, and we're not quite sure exactly what was on those ships. Now, probably correct that those were drug boats, but once again, the United States drone program has a long and storied history of accidentally blowing up the wrong people. So hopefully none of them were fishermen, none of them were, people driving fast boats because they're fun. Anyway, we have that happening. Operation Southern Spear apparently encompasses this interdiction mode, but also what else does it include? Because the United States has a major U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the Ford. Also, the George H.W. Bush is off the coast of North Carolina, as best we can tell. They got called in to a rescue to assist the Coast Guard in rescuing some people off the coast of North Carolina. That's potentially still in their training area, but they've already done flight qualifications, So it's kind of one of those questions of why is the George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier sitting off the coast of Norfolk? Are they still doing training operations? Are they needed there? Or are they preparing to steam south when nobody's noticing? But last we heard, a few days ago, it was off the coast of North Carolina, and in just a few days, it could be down in the Southern Caribbean as well. 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, the Iwo Jima amphibious assault group down there. We got the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit on the Iwo Jima and other ships. We have 15,000 soldiers and sailors off the coast of Venezuela now. And that's not counting any troops or aircraft or other assets that we can't see. Probably submarines that are wandering around down there that we don't know of. We got other air assets can be moved into Cuba without anyone really noticing. Troops can be staged there. We don't know exactly what else is in region and in the area. Not to mention Special Forces operations groups do often operate in the black, so we don't know exactly what they're up to. But we do know that the U.S. Special Operations Command ship is actually in the Southern Caribbean as well. So put all these things together, and we have a massive force that's building up. And if you're telling me that that force is there to blow a bunch of little boats out of the water, we've been blowing those boats out of the water just fine without 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, ballistic missile submarines that have been converted to launch Tomahawk missiles, and all sorts of other destroyers and cruisers in the region. We have a massive amount of force there, amphibious assault groups massing. If this is not an invasion, this is definitely a very, very large threat or bluff on Venezuela. And just look at this. The 22nd MEU was doing artillery drills on Iwo Jima. So they're sitting on the helicopter carrier, inside the helicopter carrier, with their artillery guns out, and they're practicing loading and clearing the chambers of those artillery guns. Now, we're not talking like little mortars. We're talking about the big ones, the 150 millimeter shell type variants. So not exactly what you would use on a speedboat, right? It's kind of more like what you do once you land your entire brigade on the coastline. And as you're conducting, you've conducted amphibious operations to land the troops. Now you are invading a country. Now you're going to set up your artillery pieces. Now you're saying, well, they do that all the time. It's like, yeah, but they don't usually get a piece posted by Southcom about it. Southcom is clearly messaging what is going on or what they want us to know about it. And they wanted us specifically to know that the Marines are setting up and preparing to use heavy artillery on their amphibious ship. That's, maybe that's just happenstance. Maybe that's just a coincidence. But hard for me to believe that that is really a coincidence as this is all happening. Southcom just announced the Operation Southern Spear. So put those together. Anyway, like I said at the very beginning, we now have the Justice Department of the Trump administration out there saying, yes, drumroll please, Venezuela has chemical weapons. Yes, weapons of mass destruction. And does that sound familiar? The last time we had a military buildup off the border of some country, they basically were there because of chemical weapons as well. And it turns out they didn't have any chemical weapons, but that doesn't stop a good invasion, does it? Well, now we have the Justice Department saying that the fentanyl that's coming from allegedly coming from Venezuela, does amount to a weapon of mass destruction that could be used for terrorist attacks against the United States. One, nobody has clear proof that the fentanyl is coming from Venezuela. Most indicators and most government studies say it's mostly coming from Mexico and Canada. But hey, sure, why not say it's coming from Venezuela so we can invade them? The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has been advocating for the invasion of Venezuela since 2016. And now he's the Secretary of State, he's at a position of power, and he is now calling for the invasion of Venezuela. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, does seem to be more on the level, not necessarily for invading countries or against. He's just not on record saying anything along these lines. But we do have not only the Secretary of Defense, but also the Dan Kane, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also briefing the President on options. Basically, they're bringing him scenarios. They're saying we could do this type of strike package on Venezuela. We could do regime change on Venezuela. That's apparently what they're doing, is they are giving President Trump options, military solutions to the problem of Venezuela. And President Trump apparently is looking at these. Now, we've heard from, I believe it's the Wall Street Journal just a few days ago, that apparently President Trump is the one putting brakes on this thing. He is the one stepping back and saying, do we really want to do this? And the answer, I think, for most Americans is no, we don't want to do this. We don't want to send thousands and thousands of U.S. soldiers and sailors into harm's way to go into Venezuela. We don't want their jungles. We don't want their oil. Now, I know there's a bunch of oil companies that do want their oil, because Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserves of any country in the world, which is saying something considering Saudi Arabia, right? But the fact that Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia should kind of make us a little bit suspicious of any decision to invade the country. The United States has a long history of invading countries that have oil. And we also have a long history of not getting any of that oil. But anyway, President Trump is got a lot on his plate, but it seems like his lieutenants and the people there are moving more and more military assets into place. At some point, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I mean, you can't move that many military assets up against a country's border without them freaking out, because that's exactly what's happening in Venezuela. They're saying they're calling up millions of reservists. They have reservists training in the streets to fight to the death. Now, will they actually fight to the death? Probably not. Are they very well equipped? The reservists are not well equipped for sure. They're not trained, but this is kind of what we're looking at, is that Venezuela is looking to set up a guerrilla warfare campaign against U.S. forces. Now, will they be successful in that? I'm going to suspect the answer is no. I think that the lack of food is kind of making Venezuela a little less popular for the Venezuelans. How many people from Venezuela have fled the country looking for food? Refugees from the country. So it's kind of hard to imagine that everybody in the country is absolutely on board with the whole Maduro thing. So, with all that said, will it be a quick fight? Possibly. The U.S. military is extremely advanced and well equipped, but, you know, they could fold like a house of cards, like the Iraqi army, or they could stand and fight like the Taliban. And it's hard to say which way it will go until you actually go in there, but hopefully we don't find out the hard way. Hopefully we don't go in there to find out. Hopefully we just stay out of it, do what we need to do to protect the United States from all from the drugs that are apparently coming from that country into the United States, but without actually committing U.S. forces. if there's enough dissent in the country, if there is enough people inside the government and in the country that do not like their government, which is the only way you can create a popular government, is helping them to overthrow their own government. I think that a lot of us will probably be okay with that, in the sense that we can provide assistance, we can provide training. Special operations forces can go in under the cover of darkness, help train local militias, opposition forces, and let the opposition forces take their own country. I don't think too many people really have all that much love lost for Venezuela. I think a lot of us know that bad stuff's been happening there, and in addition to that, they have been sending fentanyl and stuff like that supposedly to the United States. And if that's the case, well then that is kind of unacceptable, and that does make a lot more sense of a clear and present danger to the United States than some country over in the Middle East, because maybe there might be terrorists there that might do something to the United States if they can somehow get on a plane and go to the U.S., which they would never be allowed to go on a plane to the United States. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Should we be a part of this? Should we be a million miles away from this? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. What do you guys think Operation Southern Spear is going to end up being? Is it going to be an invasion? Is it going to be a regime change? Is it going to be just surgical strikes against cartel camps inside Venezuela? Is it going to be a special operations led effort to support Maduro opposition groups inside Venezuela? All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.